So the purpose of this demo is to just demonstrate some of the new features and what we've done with our Swiftcount program. The goal of the Swiftcount program is to develop a program that's going to be a lot more flexible, a lot easier to use, and a lot more powerful than our current basis program. So I'd like to just give you an overview of all the stuff that we've done and how it differs from basis, and also just give you an overall tour of the program. So Swiftcount is fully loaded, fully web-based. I'm going to log in from the web portal, and I also have a mobile device. So this is an iOS device, but Swiftcount does support iOS and Android, and it supports barcode scanning capabilities of both systems. So if you have a more industrial type scanner like the Motorola's or some of the less expensive Android with scanners, that works as well. What I currently am using is an iOS device with a Honeywell case, which makes it a more powerful thing. So let me just log in first. I'll give you an overview first of all of the desktop. So when I first log in, I land on what we call the hub, which just gives you an overview of where you are, how many products you have, if you have any active counts, the averages. There is also a wizard that helps you set it up. We have a full support team that's on standby. You can schedule a call and we can contact you. And basically what I would like to show first, so in the settings we support serial and lot numbers. We have customers and suppliers, so those, if we're integrated with an accounting package such as Spire or anything else, we're able to import that directly. We have multiple units of measure, multiple warehouses, multiple categories. We also have something called Swift IDs, which is basically programmable tags. So whenever I do something, I can tag it and I can remove it. I can make sure that I assign a color. So if I create a tag, I get the option to select what I want it to say and what color. And those will be available all the way through the program so that I can just assign them to things. And one of the things we do when we do a tag, we also allow you to make a comment to the tag. And I'll show you later on that those tags are actually not only programmable, but also can add comments to the tag. So for example, I have a tag called return. So if I did do a write-off of a product that we call a movement out, and I clicked on return, I would be able to add a tag that would say who returned it and for what reason. So that's what the tag is. So let me go back. So I'm back on my settings. Settings is also where you would be adding users, and once we create users, you can create them as, by default, the system will create one owner user. You can create administrators, and you can create count user. One of the power that you have as the super user, the administrator, you can actually go to the settings and you can assign very specific permissions. So I've just jumped over to my profile, and here I can see there is a tab called user permission. As a super admin, you'll also be able to see all your previous bills. You'll have notifications. You can change your company data details. This is also where you would change the different plans that you have. We have different plans depending on your needs. Anywhere from a very simple plan that starts at very little, very reasonable, to a very complex plan that would be for 30, 40, 50 users. We can even have plans hosted on your own dedicated server. But as a super admin, I can actually go to my users, and from my user profile, I see everything that they can do. So we have components, we have modules, and we have others. Basically what this means is from here, I can remove or add access to any of the functionality of the program within for the user. So for example, I can give action to a user, meaning he can act on somebody, or I can just give him access, meaning he can only view it, or I can remove it completely. When it comes to location, we have the ability to not only assign warehouses to locate to customers, but I can actually also select the locations, and I can decide what locations a user can see. So this is actually very powerful in the sense that I can have a user that works, if I had a restaurant, for example, I could have a user that works in the kitchen, and he doesn't necessarily need to see what's going on in the bar. So we can control what items he sees and where location it is. So if I have a few restaurants, then my kitchen guy, Mississauga, doesn't need to see the kitchen in the Toronto restaurant, and he doesn't need to see the bar in the same restaurant in Mississauga. So it's very powerful in terms of what we can do and what we can assign to the users. I'm going to go through the different functionality and we can discuss. So first thing I'm going to jump to my products. So when I go on my products tab, I can see all my products. Those would all be imported automatically or uploaded from Excel, depending if you're integrated or not. And if you search a product, you can actually put any of the boxes anywhere where we have a list view. They're all searchable, so I'm able to just type in something and I can actually search it. For example, if I look at the first item here, I'm going to click on view, and that will take me to the details of that. So in the detail, I can see obviously the part number, the description. I can assign it to a category. I can create categories on the fly, both on the mobile device and on the desktop. I can set up whether my inventory is serialized, non-serialized, or lot number. I have the ability to add up to 5 custom fields to each of my products. And then we also see other information, such as, for example, I see how many I have. One of the things we can see from here is if I go to my products, I see the little icon here, which is actually the same icon that I have in my locations. And what that does is that allows me to see how many items I have in all the different locations. The whole purpose of Swiftcount is to give you the ability to have complete visibility, whether it's by warehouse or by physical location. You can sort, you can filter, you can do anything you can, and it's very easy to move everything from one location to another. You can also add a product image to the image, and you can also assign a tags. Those are the tags that I was talking about before. So for example, if this item needs to have a QA, we can add a tag to it, and as I mentioned, we can actually add a comment to that item. So this is specific to that item, this tag, and it won't be on all the items, it's just on that one. From the bottom of the screen of the product, I can see anything that's more relevant about that specific product. So for example, if I had multiple units of measure, I can see them here. I can assign suppliers to my item so that we can actually create sales orders. Now, if this was actually integrated, those suppliers would be imported automatically. If the item was serialized, I would have an extra tag here where that would show me all this available serial number for that item. And then I can also go on movement. So the movement is basically the ability to see everything that was created in Spire. So there's a new concept that we've introduced in Swiftcount called movements. So a movement is anything that has to do with moving an item, whether I'm doing a transfer or an in or an out or a sales order or purchase orders or production. Anything that I do results in a movement. So that concept makes it very powerful because those movements are all signed not only by the signature of the time, but also by the user itself, so that we can always go back and see if this came in, for example, from my first import on my accounting package, but then whenever I move it in and out, I'm able to see who moved it, what. If I had a tag, I can actually see what the tag says and why I moved it. So if it was a movement out for something that was damaged, for example, I'd be able to move it out. So the advantage of having the movement process, I'm just going to spend a few minutes on that because it's really the core functionality of Swiftcount. That gives us the ability to do what we call a picture in time. So if I wanted to see what I had on December 23rd of a specific year, as long as I go to that product and from the analytics module, I'm able to select the date, I can recreate the whole life of that item and all the movements from the moment it came to the time that I've selected, which basically gives me the ability to review my inventory at any point in time for any of my items. So that's very powerful. I'm also able to see analytics and see all the movements for all the products, and I can filter it by user, by date, by type of movement, by tags, by comments, by anything I want, so that I'm able to always retrace everything that happened actually results in a movement. So if we do a count, the discrepancy of what we counted versus what we were supposed to have will result in a movement either in or out based on the discrepancy. If we do a sales order, everything that we sell will be a movement out. If we do an order, everything that we sell will be a movement in. And within my location, I can either have an in or an out, and I can also do a transfer. So I'm going to illustrate that, but I'll focus more on the mobile device when I do that. Let me just jump now to the mobile device to show you how this translates. So I'm bringing on my mobile device here, and once I log in, first thing I'm going to see is what we call the hub from the mobile device, which is very similar to my product here. From here, I can see a list of my products by going into movements, but I can also, even easier, if I have anything that's barcode enabled, I can just scan a barcode from the hub, and basically it's going to open and it's going to show me exactly what I have, all my products, how many I have on hand. And from here I have the ability to do either a transfer or a movement. The difference between a transfer and a movement is a transfer is basically the ability to move something from. So we always see the primary location highlighted in blue for each warehouse for the item that were selected. So for example, in the first item here, I have 13,000 of that item in that warehouse. So if I did from this, I could go into my different location. I can put it in the primary of a different warehouse, or I can just do a movement within the same warehouse within the same location. So the item now knows where it's supposed to go from and to. It's just waiting for me to enter the quantity The quantity is actually entered to what we call the smart keyboard. These 4 little numbers here allow you to put almost any number combination extremely fast. For example, if I wanted to say 32, I would just type on 25, 5 and 1, 1. So once you get the hang of it, this is actually very easy, but we also have a little slide bar that allows me to increase or decrease my quantity. And if the numbers that I'm actually counting are a little more sophisticated, I can always bring up a little calculator which allows me to have numbers and operations. If I make a mistake, all I have to do is just shake my mobile device and I can clear it, and here I can say I have 12 times 2, so whatever, you can just enter the quantity that you want. You can go back, and if you want to change it, you can add another one. Very, very simple to add, and this same functionality will actually be repeated everywhere, whether it's a movement or a transfer or a count or an order or a sales order. I can always use the same type of screen here with the quick keyboard, and the only thing that I'll change is a color to indicate to me what it is that I'm doing. So once I'm happy with what I'm doing, all I have to do is swipe from right to left. Again, the whole idea is to be able to do everything with the thumb. So I'm holding my mobile device in my left hand, and the only thing available right now is my thumb. So everything I've done right now is just with my thumb. And if I'm good, I'm just going to swipe my thumb from right to left, and that will actually complete the movement. Now, if I went back to my my desktop, I would be able to see that that movement has been created. From the hub again, I can scan the same item or a different item, doesn't really matter. And then once I scan the next item, I can now do a movement. So what I was showing before was actually a transfer. I mean, I miscalled it. But so basically the difference between a movement and a transfer is the movement is just the ability to adjust my inventory. So if I have something that I want to just remove or add, I can simply do it from the movement screen here. So if I click on the little minus, it's going to give me the ability to remove something. So now, because I said minus, it's asking me where I'm getting it from. And in this case, I only have it in my primary location. So I'm going to take one out, for example. So in this case, I can only take one out, but I can also explain why I take it out by putting a tag. So if I tap on my tag here, I'll be able to select why I'm taking a tag. Let's say, for example, I want to put an item on hold. I can just simply select the item here and put it on hold. And then again, if I want, I can add a comment that would say who put it on hold. I mean, obviously that would be identified. It would probably be why I put it on hold. That I can say, for example, it's damaged. So again, that will be not only auditable, but it'll be searchable. And same idea, I can just swipe from right to left and it gets sent. And it's done. So there is never any need to do any synchronization. Everything happens automatically. The little cursor that I have here is like a little heartbeat that basically keeps pinging my server and getting the information back and forth to my server and making sure that we always have communication. If by any chance or by any malchance I would lose connectivity, this would turn red, so I would know that it's actually not communicating with the server. In this case, what would happen is that the data would be accumulated onto the mobile device, and then as soon as the server would be pinged again, this would continually ping it, but as soon as it would ping it again, it would basically send all the information that was changed and then retrieve all the information on the server that may have been changed by other users. So just to illustrate what I just did, if I look now on the desktop, I can see that my movement came in here, -1, and I can see my tag and I can see my comment. So again, a very simple process. So what would happen in this case here, if we're integrated to an accounting package such as Aspire or QuickBooks Online or even to a point of sale system, that movement would actually have resulted in an inventory adjustment in the accounting package. So automatically this would create an inventory adjustment that would have to be reviewed and posted. In some cases it would just be posted. Again, it all depends on the logic of the different packages. But for example, in Inspire system, one other thing we would do is we would create an inventory adjustment that just needs to be posted to make sure that we justify the fact that we've taken one out of inventory. So that's basically what the movement and transfer function does. It's very powerful, very useful. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into what we call count. So the difference between a movement and a count is actually a physical operation that gets created on a regular basis. So when we do a count, we can create a count for any items or a range of. So the first step of creating the count would just be to go to the count module and create and click on new count. So the counts are very flexible, very customizable. We need to assign a name to the count. There is no limit to the number of counts, so you can actually do targeted counts of very specific items. But I can create a count. I can have a target completion date. I can decide which warehouse it is that I'm counting. I can decide whether all my users are going to be participating or just the ones. I can just pick and choose which users will be doing the counts. And then I can select whether I'm doing a count for a specific location. I just want to assign, I just want to review what I have in a very specific item. I can do all my item, I can do a category, or I can do a custom count. So if I just want the one that I have a barcode for, this is the item that I was counting. Let's say I just want to confirm this count here. So the quantity that's in Spire is actually, or the quantity that's in Swiftcount is going to come automatically for this warehouse. And if that's the only item that I'm counting, I have the ability to make the count a recurring count. And what that is if I wanted to count some of my top moving items every week or every month or every day, I have the ability to do that. So what I just did here to create the count, even though it was fairly simple, I would have the ability to do it and say, okay, for the next however long, I want it to continue. And if I wanted to set up a date when it stops, I can also do that from here. We call that the recurring count. So you just go ahead and continue. And as soon as I create the count, what's going to happen is that my mobile device will be notified. So the count came in right away to my mobile device. So what I would actually do is I would go to my device, pick my count, and now I'm ready to start scanning the items that I'm counting. So again, once I scan the item, it opens up to the page where I'm supposed to enter my count. Same idea here. I got a, let me just go into the actual count itself so that we can see what happens. So on the background, I can see what items that I'm supposed to count. So for example, the first one I'm supposed to count 13,481. I wouldn't necessarily know that, but I would be able to go and select which location I'm counting it into. And then here, I can tap and hold the calculator, and what it does, it'll actually use a multiplier. So it opens a multiplier of 10,000, so I would have it make it easier to enter 10,000. And then if I want to tap the 1, I could also have done it through the calculator. The idea is that there's just a way to enter the numbers very quickly. And again, if I make a mistake, I can just shake it, clear it. So I can just go ahead and type in my number directly through my calculator. Immediately on the background, it gets updated so I can see what I counted and I see my discrepancy. And then it goes to my next item where basically I'm going to count how many I have. Again, it's going to accept it here. And here, because I've done my count, I just complete my count. Very simple process, very quick, that basically allows me to do a count on the mobile device, updates it here. And all I have to do to complete the count is click on Process Count, at which time it will update my accounting package if I want to. And it'll also update my counts in Swiftcount so that my numbers now will match. So that's basically the process of a count. A very simple process. I have the ability to export it to Excel or to PDF if I want to. Some of the other functionality that we have. One other thing I wanted to highlight as well, in most of the modules in Swiftcount, when you look at an item or specific transactions, we have the ability to view a barcode for it. For example, on the product, the barcode is located here. What that does is that'll open actually a barcode that I can scan directly from my mobile device. So if I wanted to do something directly on the desktop, I actually don't need to print the barcode. But if I wanted to print it, I can also just open the print option, and it'll give me the availability to print it directly on different paper size, different positions, and so on. So it's very useful to be able to print barcodes. We have the same functionality in the order and sales orders. So the idea is just to give something simple for the users. Again, the whole focus of Swiftcount is simplicity. So what I've done so far is I've done a count that would adjust my accounting package. I've done an adjustment that would also update my accounting package, but the most popular functionality and the most common ones are probably sales and purchase orders. So the way the sales and the purchase order module work depends on the integration. So you can create a sale directly from Swiftcount. You can import a sale from Excel. Or if you're integrated, you can actually click on the integration partner. So in this case, we're integrated to Spire. You can import specific sales orders, or you can import all the sales orders that were imported since the last import. So the idea is just to give you the tool so that you can very quickly, and then depending on the type of sale, so if I just wanted to see my active sale, I can see them on here. And then from the mobile device, I'm able to just open any of the order. If I want to control from the sales order who is actually processing the order, again, I can, and then here I can pick and choose again who's going to get this order. By default, the user that's logged in will always be the one assigned, but I can pick more. And if I hit send, what's going to happen is I'm going to get a notification on the mobile that the sale was just sent to my mobile. and I'll be able to see it. So I see here the one that just came in, and I'll be able to see the other option. If I wanted to, I could have just again click on the little barcode here and use my mobile device to just scan that barcode to load the order directly onto my mobile device. And then finally, if the order wasn't here at all, I could have just scanned the barcode on a piece of paper from my mobile device, and that sale would have come in, depending on the integration partner, obviously. That would pull it directly from the integration partner. So once I have a sale that's assigned to a mobile device, the sale will show up, and then the items on the sale will be there as well, and all I have to do is scan them. So I can scan them by using the camera on the mobile device, or if I'm using a reader scanner, I can do that as well. So I'm just going to use a scanner here. And once it opens it and finds the item, all I have to do is enter the quantity. So in this case, I need 2. I'm going to select my location. So I select my location and save it. And instantly, I'm able to see it on the server. Going to the next part, see the picture. I can select the location, enter my quantity, save it. And now my order is completed. At any time, I can do what we call a Swift audit, which is swipe down from the top. And I'm able to see what was scanned by myself or by any other user. So that's very powerful if we have multiple people scanning the same orders. But basically now my order is completed, and all I have to do is complete sale to remove it from the mobile device. And then on a desktop, I didn't need to do any synchronization or anything. The quantity is already here. The final step is to just process the sale, which will then update my accounting package and complete that sale. A very simple process. At the end of it, again, I can export to Excel or PDF. The idea is that everything that we do in Swiftcount is actually very parallel. So from account to scanning a sales order, or scanning what we call an order, which is actually a purchase order, the idea is always the same. Whenever we enter something, it's always a similar screen. Like for example, this is a screen that we had before. Same screen as account, same screen as a movement, same screen as a transfers. They're all the same. And the idea that everything gets created as a movement makes the whole thing possible. So the last area that I would like to just demonstrate very quickly is the purchase orders. So it's exactly the same. We have some that have been processed. We can select whether we have the active one or the processed one. All the ones that are active become available through the mobile device. Just like I did on my sales, I can either scan it, select a user and send it, or the user can select it and pull it. So I'm able to see all the purchase orders are actually available to be pulled. And then from there, once I pull it, same idea. I just open it, I'll see the item, and I'll be able to scan. I can see the quantity. So in this case, because I'm actually assigning it to a location, it gives me the ability to see all my location. And I can either put it in my primary location or any other location within my warehouse because I'm actually receiving it. In some cases, you may want to pull it in a quality assurance location, put a tag on it to make sure that it gets reviewed. Same idea, we have the tag functionality here. And just the whole process is very consistent. One thing I would like to, I forgot to show actually on the sales, we also have the ability to add information on the sales order. So for example, on the sales order, we can open the little camera, we can add a picture using our pictures that are available on our mobile, or use a camera to take a picture of a specific item, and then we can attach this to the sale. So if we're actually doing a delivery and we wanted to have a specific box to show that we have actually got a sale, we're able to do that. And we can also add a tracking number to the sale just by scanning it into the tracking number box or just entering it. So again, this information all gets collected and is reviewable from the desktop at any time in the future. We also have the ability to either email it to the customer manually or email it to the customer automatically. We're also going to illustrate the serial number functionality by first receiving a PO. So in this case, we received the PO by just scanning a barcode with the PO number. Once we have the barcode with the PO number, we'll get the PO and then we'll start scanning serial numbers. So we're using an online barcode generator just to illustration purposes. In real life, you'd actually scan the real items. So as we scan them, they get added to the purchase order, and then we can go on and scan one for each item that we're receiving. In Swiftcount, I can then review what I've scanned. I can click on View to see a list of every single scan. And if I click on any of the view of every single specific scan, it's going to show me what serial number was actually scanned. The final step would be to just process the order in Swiftcount, the purchase order, and then it would give us a report of everything that we've scanned. It would give us a notification on the mobile that the order is completed. And if we go back to our accounting package, we'll be able to see all the serial numbers that were just received. So the next thing I want to do is I want to scan that item and I want to transfer it to a different warehouse, and I'm going to sell it out of the different warehouse. I'm going to illustrate how that works. So from the mobile device, at any time I can just scan an item. So this is an item that I just received. So I can scan that item from the mobile device. And basically it opens to show me what I have on hand and the availability to transfer it. So if I tap on transfer, I'll be able to transfer it. And once I select from, I'm going to see just a serial number that are available from that location. So I'm going to pick the first two. And then all I need to do is select which warehouse and where I want to transfer them and accept it. And then I'll be able to send as a complete process. That transfer will create a transfer document directly into my accounting package so that the items will be in the new warehouse as soon as it's posted with the serial numbers. I will now go ahead and scan an order number so that I can now assign to the item that is serialized to sale, and the serial numbers will become available, so I can also assign the serial number to the order and to the item on that sales order. Just like for the purchase order, all we need to do is process it to update both Swiftcount and the accounting package with the serial number attached to the order. So that's overall a view of Swiftcount. I think there's a few more things that are available, like the ability to have multiple units of measure, the tagging, but the thing that I'm going to leave it at that because I wanted to keep everything under a half hour. So I think it gives a good idea of the power of Swiftcount and the simplicity of Swiftcount, which is really what it's designed to do. But we have customers with as high as 300,000 parts, and no problem at all. We have customers with as little as 20 parts. So the whole idea is to keep it simple, flexible, and very versatile. The last thing I'm going to show is we have the ability to print labels, which is similar to what I illustrated from the products. So they can be printed by scanning the barcode of the product itself, or you can go into the label module and pick and choose what you want to print. We also have an analytics module. There's also an analytics module that will give you the ability to view anything that you've done in terms of counts or any transactions whatsoever, any movements. It can be filtered by users, by product, by date, by many different criterias. And then all the information that gets gathered can then be exported to Excel or to a PDF format for further analysis. The information will always stay in Swiftcount. Everything you do gets kept so that there's always a way to go and review either old counts or transactions. Everything is date stamped, so there is always a way to review what was done by who, etc. So that's it for this demo. We invite you to contact us for further information, and we appreciate the time that you spent listening to us. Thank you.